Hello, everyone. Welcome back to AC Today Reports. It's Thursday, and we're so glad that you joined us. As always, we have a wonderful lineup. We're going to talk to one of our members who is part of a church that's continuing to serve the community during this time. We're going to actually talk to our superintendent of education. All the buzz is school openings, what we should and shouldn't do. And he's going to share the plan for AEC schools. And we're also going to talk to an HR expert who's going to share with us some tips for job hunting during COVID. And lastly, we're going to have our youth correspondents interview another young person within our AEC territory. So stay tuned for all those wonderful segments coming up right after this break.
You could be spreading the coronavirus without realizing you have it. So follow guidance from authorities where you live and do your part. It's important to limit in-person interaction with anyone outside of your immediate household, but phone and video chat are safe ways to connect. It's also important to limit any social gathering. This advice applies to people of any age, including teens and younger adults. Visit coronavirus.gov for the latest information.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to AC Today Reports. We're happy that you chose to tune in this evening. And one thing about Allegheny East is we're always excited about how our churches are involved in the community, even during a pandemic. And my guest right now is one of those individuals. She and her church are actively engaged in ministry during this time. So I want to introduce you to Miss Gloria Dorsey. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Great. So tell us, what church are you from?
I'm at Pisgah Church, which is in Bryans Road, Maryland, down in the country in Charles County.
All right. Sounds good. Now, I hear that Pisgah's been up to a lot of giving back, keeping up the distribution to the community. Tell us what kind of program you guys are running out of Pisgah during this time.
Well, we happen to have had a food distribution, a monthly food distribution. We've had it for years. It kind of went on hiatus, but 3 years ago, we were able to bring it back. And our thought process when this COVID hit was, we hear the government's mandates that we stay in and all that, but we did not want to stop our feeding program. We didn't feel like that was one thing that we could stop doing. That's our one outreach to the community that we could continue. Right. And so we did it.
Okay, awesome. Now, of course, you want to still give back, but you also want to follow the recommended precautions. So how do you guys set up in such a way that, no one's susceptible to passing COVID to one another, and the people working as well as those receiving stay safe? What are your strategies?
Well, the first thing we did was change our format. Our original format was that customers, our guests could come in and shop. They picked what we set the food out. They picked what they wanted. The first thing we did was stop entry into the building. And we started wearing masks even before it was acceptable. We wore masks from the beginning. Okay. And then we load vehicles. And the other thing we did was restrict the number of staff who can come. Now, what that did was increase my workload because I like to work alone. I shop alone. And a lot of times in the building, I'm doing things that have to be done alone. It did eliminate the number of people who wanted to volunteer because people want to give. They want to help.
Absolutely.
But we just could not allow everyone in. And so the number of people who are allowed in the building is 10. And that's really only on distribution day. The rest of the days, it's one or two of us maybe filling bags. Mainly it's me. Some of the our tasks are really assigned. We have to get very strategic in how we assign. So we have people assigned to do just certain things. And the people who can come in the building with a key come when I'm not there. I come when they're not there. Very well organized. And I pick up things from people. We have our congregation is very giving. And so there's a group that donates household chemicals. So I pick those up, or they drop them at the church. I tell them when I'm going to be at church. We unload their vehicles and I bring it inside. There's a group there's one family who donates eggs and bread. Nice. They come on a different day, the day before distribution. I'm not there. Things are there when I get there. There's a family who donates toilet paper. I tell them when I'm at church, they drop it off. and I bring it in the building. So we do that. On the day of distribution, it's our largest staff, but most of those are because we are loading trucks. They're outside. We're loading vehicles. We're lining people up on the parking lot, taking stuff out. They're in and out of the building, and everyone is in a mask.
I love that. So you're finding a way to do it in a way that keeps everyone safe. I know sometimes when it comes to volunteering, people want to be involved, but in this case, it just may not be safe. And so you guys are taking precautions. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
So on any given distribution day, you say you do it monthly or how frequently?
We do it monthly, every third Wednesday from 4 until 6.
Okay.
We had been serving consistently about 30 people, but in the last this is July, so last month we had 56. This month we had 49 or 50. So we're growing. What has happened is we serve what is called the ALICE population. Are you familiar with that term? Asset limited, income constrained, employed. ALICE, Charles County is not particularly, it's not a poor county per se, but there's a lot of people who work in these jobs that it's income limited. So they need help with food. And so we're seeing that now with hours cut and businesses closed and that kind of thing. We're seeing an increase. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. So why was it so important to Pisgah to continue to do this, even during the pandemic?
Well, about 3 years ago, I guess when I took this position over, I attended it's like a thought seminar of all the charitable workers in the county, and they exposed me to this term, asset limited, income constrained, and I'm like, they're still here, whether there's COVID or not. They're going to need food. And if statistics are like they're planning, it's going to be more people who need it, not fewer. And so we considered the risk, and we took risk because going into stores, and we go into a lot of stores. So we took the risks. Somebody had to do it, and we felt like, well, we say we're here to serve. You know that thing that went around the community, Christian communities. If your church left the community, would it be missed?
Right.
We want to be missed.
Right.
And so we've become a staple for some people. And I couldn't see any way. And my family I had to take some grief about going in all these stores and shopping and all that.
Yeah, they're concerned about you.
Yeah, because it takes a lot to run, even if it's once a month, it takes a lot to run a food distribution center. And I have a philosophy that I can't just give out food from the food bank because some of it is not something that I would want to eat. And so when I took the position years ago, my church has given me a very healthy budget. So I go buy fresh fruit from Costco.
Oh, wow.
That's the fruit that I eat. And I buy eggs. I don't want to buy stuff that may be damaged or crushed or all that to give to people because that's not what I eat. So I go to the food bank, but I also buy from the marketplace. And so then it became, all these used to be a great resource, but then they became restricting things. So it got harder and harder. We had to go into a lot of stores. If you could only buy 4 of something,
Right, they have the limits now, you're right.
Yeah, we're running around store to store to store, and there's a group of us who just do that, but the risks were there. And so, but God has blessed. None of our shoppers have been affected by the disease, and the community continues to be blessed.
Absolutely. And I love that. I love that you want to provide them with food that you would eat. I think that shows a level of respect and care that people can appreciate. You're not just giving them leftovers or damaged goods saying just take what you get. You're actually giving them quality food, healthy food that will sustain them and their families. That's awesome.
We have a reputation in the county as being the nicest food because there's a lot of feeding programs. A lot of churches feed, but a lot of them do rely on the food bank. That's what they give out. But the food bank relies on donations. So, and sometimes when you shop at the food bank, they lump all this stuff together. Some of that stuff is expired. I throw away stuff. I don't give out anything expired. My cans are not dented. And it's the food that I would eat in my house if I had to. And so we're very careful to respect our friends. And we get thank you notes. And, and then we had a family. I'm not going to call their name publicly because they probably don't want me to do that.
Okay.
we had a family who for 3 months in a row, they donated $500
Wow.
to give to people in addition to the food that we give. Because they felt like everybody needs a little bit of cash every now and again. So the first month we gave $20 to 25. The second month we did another set of 25. But this month we gave $10 to everybody. This is the last month we're going to do it.
Yeah.
They gave another, but I'm finding that to get fresh fruit, when we increased our number of guests, the cost of fruit has really skyrocketed.
I'm sure.
So I'm going to use the extra money I want to continue to give fruit. That's the first thing people cut from their budget. Yeah.
Healthy. That's great. I love that. And I like the fact that so many are willing to give, because that's really what sustains. I mean, I know you said the church gives you a nice budget, which is great.
Yeah.
But knowing that individuals contribute as well to make it possible is wonderful.
Oh yeah, we have like 5 bags of an egg and bread bag. There's a detergent, bleach, and dishwasher bag. There's a huge bag of groceries. There's and there's a toilet paper bag. Those are things that we give out every month. Yeah.
That's awesome. And you all load their trunks or cars for them, so they don't even have to.
They don't get out. The one thing I have stopped that I kind of don't know how to do yet, because I don't want to handle papers or bring this thing back in the building, I've stopped registering people as far as filling out papers, because I haven't figured out how to do that without some risk of transfer. So I'm still working on that, but the Lord's keeping records. The Lord just has to keep records.
And, well, you know what's there when you start and what's not when you end. So, you want to keep up with the people too. I understand what you're saying. Yeah. So we'll work on that. I'll talk to our ACS director, see if he has any ideas about how we can do that without having all the paperwork and touching and things of that nature. But this is great. Thanks, Pisgah, and thanks, Ms. Dorsey, for what you're doing. It always makes us proud to see what Allegheny East people are doing to give back to their communities. I feel like that's the spirit of our conference, and you're exhibiting that so much. So we thank you for what you're doing. Keep up the good work.
Thank you. My pleasure.
And we'll keep praying for you and your team to continue to keep you all safe during this. We appreciate your efforts.
Thank you so much.
All right. And please stay tuned. We'll be right back after this break.
Thanks to your fervent prayers, Pine Forge Academy is strong, and the faculty and staff remain COVID-19 free. We are looking forward to an exciting future providing excellence in Christian education to students.
The PFA spirit doesn't live on campus.
It lives within us.
No matter where we are connected.
No matter where we are learning.
No matter where we are excelling.
And no matter where we are together.
As we look towards the future, Pine Forge's health and safety are:
we are prepared for action.
Our academics are prepared for achievement.
Our finances are prepared for affordability.
And we are prepared for acceleration.
Join us now as the legacy lives on.
We are Pine Forge Academy Strong.
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 We are Pine Forge Academy Strong. Join us now as the legacy lives on.
We are Pine Forge Strong. God is on our side. Our alumni are on our side. We will remain open for you and for generations to come. If we ever needed the Lord before, we need Him right now. We solicit your prayers for the Academy as we pray for you and your family. Thank you, and we are asking you to please stay safe.
All right, welcome back, everyone. We thank you for continuing to stay tuned into AC Today Reports. We're giving you a few updates about things that are happening with our churches and some practical tips. But we also have this whole thing of schools reopening. That's the big topic that the whole nation seems to be talking about right now. And so we want to have our own little discussion, our very own education superintendent, John Alberty. Welcome back.
Thank you, Latasha.
Yes, thank you for joining us. And as I mentioned, everyone's talking about schools opening. Should we open? Don't open? How are we opening? And all of that. So just to make it clear, what's Allegheny East school system? What are we planning to do for this fall?
So in an effort to keep all of our students safe, our plan is to still open with an online platform. And the goal really is, it comes down to the safety of our students, it comes down to the safety of our staff, and the safety of our families. Now, we do understand that an online platform is not going to be the long-term goal, but this also gives schools time to prepare for when that day comes when we can open our buildings back up. They have the proper PPEs and the proper plans in place to make sure that our students are safe when that day comes to enter the building.
Okay, and so the school year starts is August 17th for the K
through 8 starts August 17th. We have had a couple of schools have asked for an extension, so we're considering it. However, right now the start date is still August 17th for all of our schools, minus Pine Forge. Pine Forge will be sending out information to their parents about their actual start date as they work through some getting in some additional PPEs that may prolong that date.
Gotcha. Okay, so now that we have committed to distance learning, I know we started it at the tail end of last school year, kind of went right into it pretty much over a weekend. So what will distance learning look like starting a school year? What can parents expect?
Okay, so a couple of things that we're looking to do when we start the school year with distance learning. In an effort to maximize our resources, we've encouraged some of our schools to share their resources, to join forces, so to speak. So that means that students might have a teacher from another school this year, which is actually exciting. It puts them in a classroom with students from across the conference. They'll get to make friends that they would never have had the opportunity to make. It also allows them the opportunity to be in a single grade classroom as opposed to a combination classroom. So when we talk about this online learning, we are going to continue with the Zoom platform, but our office is also looking to other learning hubs. We used Google Classroom last year and it was successful, but we're also working on what other learning hubs are out there to make us more successful. We're looking to make sure our schools use ebooks this year in an effort to make sure that students have everything they need at home. Now, we do understand that all of our textbooks are not online, but the ones that are online. We're encouraging our schools to use those. You're going to get the same robust Adventist curriculum that you're used to. You're going to have teachers engaged. We have a training that's coming up for our teachers to continue to help them improve their ability to provide online learning. And they did such a wonderful job last year, but again, we just want to help them to continue
extra
to
support
and support them. Yes.
So how does that affect the school day? I know my children started school at 8 and they got out at 3. Obviously, that wouldn't be the same amount of hours for online learning. Has that been sorted out, kind of the schedule of the day?
We have talked about that. And so the schedule we have right now, and this is a fluid situation, so some of it will change. But right now, the schedule that we have, the students will start class at 9 in the morning, and they'll be in online classes up to around 12, I believe it's 12:15, and then they get a break. And then they come back an hour later where teachers will have the opportunity to continue either with online instruction or allow students to do work on their own or use that time for tutoring and so on and so forth.
Okay, great. All right, so I know you said this is our short-term solution. We don't necessarily plan to be doing online learning longer than we have to. It's safe. How are we preparing for the time when we do go back to school, to our school building?
Okay, so a couple of things. I did say it's a short-term solution. However, we do understand that there are going to be some parents that do not want to send their kids back even after the pandemic is slowing down. So our goal is to hopefully have an online or virtual class space available even after all of this to reach students that are not just in the Allegheny East territory, but across the world. But when we go back into the classroom, we're not looking at opening our doors and say, okay, everybody welcome back in. It is going to be a phased approach, whether that students going to school 2 days a week and still at home for 3 days, whether it's bringing students in half a day, one group in half a day, the other group the other half. So it will be a phased approach. And those phased approach will probably be detailed to those particular schools because our territory is so large.
Okay, sounds good. Now, I know, a lot of parents have various opinions and even questions. A lot of them are still sorting things out. Is there going to be a forum where parents can interact with you or the rest of the education team to kind of field some questions they may have?
Yeah. We are looking at planning a town hall. We have received a lot of questions in our office, and we do want to make sure that we answer those questions. So we're planning to do a town hall within the next couple of weeks. So parents, please look for that information to come out. And after the town hall, if there are additional questions that we did not answer as part of that event, then we'll give you the opportunity to continue to send us emails, and so we can continue to respond to your questions. We want parents to be comfortable and with their decision to continue with Allegheny East and with the decision to be a part of our online forum for our students.
Awesome. And I guess parents too can also reach out to the local principals of the school, which would be their hub school, I guess, for more information. Now, speaking of which, we do have some new individuals, new leadership.
Yes, we have a new principal at DuPont Park Academy. And let me make sure I'm clear. DuPont Park is the only 7-day Adventist school within our nation's capital, and that is Mrs. Gray. We're so excited to welcome her. She came in, she hit the ground running. We also have a brand new principal at Georgie Peter 7-day Adventist School, and that's Miss Jeffries. She also came in and hit the ground running, and actually the two of them have been collaborating and working together.
Awesome.
We're excited to see that.
Great. We like to welcome our new team members. We may have to interview them so our AEC family can meet them as well.
Yes.
But thank you. We understand you have a lot on your shoulders. No one envies you right now and all of the decisions that you have to make with all the varying opinions. But, we're going to commit it to prayer as we do with everything else. And I believe it will sort itself out. But thank you for all your efforts and for sharing information. As Mr. Alberty said, there will be a town hall meeting coming up, and we'll make sure that we share that information on this platform as well, so anyone who would like to attend can get those details. Well, thanks for all you're doing.
Thank you.
And we wish you the best.
All right. Thank you, Latasha.
All right. And please stay tuned. We'll be right back after this break.
Today, I'm going to talk to you about physics. Come on in, girls. Let's go. This is the first rocket to get humans to Mars.
Really tall.
I'm a rocket structural engineer, designing and building parts of the rocket. You are the generation that will be stepping foot on Mars. Do I have a group of astronauts on my hands?
Yes.
You can become a rocket scientist or whatever else you want to be.
All right, everyone, we're back. We thank you for staying tuned after the break. Now, one of the things we're trying to do at Allegheny East is help you in practical ways as well during this pandemic. And one of the things that we're facing right now as a country is job loss and people trying to navigate what to do next to provide for their families. So I'm very happy to have with me today a human resource expert, Apryl Evans. How are you doing, Apryl?
I'm doing well, Tasha. How are you?
Doing well as well. We thank you for joining us and being able to share your expertise. Now tell our audience, tell us a little bit about what you do professionally.
Yeah, so currently I'm the Chief Human Resources Officer at a nonprofit based in Washington, D.C. And our mission is to provide a well-balanced life for refugees. And so it's a mission-driven organization, extremely passionate about the work that we do. And I'm excited to be a part of the team. Prior to joining that organization, I've been in HR for about 20 years. Got my start as an intern in Huntsville, Alabama, and wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do with my life as I was approaching graduation. But I was offered this opportunity to intern at the hospital there, and it was instant connection, like love at first sight. I knew HR was the thing that I wanted to do. And my focus at that point was recruiting. And so I worked with the hospital to do a lot of on-campus recruiting and to build out their talent pool there. So a great opportunity, got my start in HR, and I've been doing it ever since.
Wow. So, I mean, if you've done it for 20 years, that means you got to love it, right? At least we hope.
I do. yes, I do love it.
And Apryl also attends one of our Allegheny East Conference churches. I want to shout out your church.
Yeah, so I attend Breath of Life Seventh-day Adventist Church in Fort Washington, Maryland.
Yay! Great. So, as I said in the beginning, people, the unemployment rate, we see those numbers, and they seem to be climbing steadily. We also know that the CARES Act is about to expire. Many people are a little nervous about unemployment running out. But so we have this perception that, there are no jobs out there, but are companies still hiring from what you're seeing in an HR perspective?
Yeah, so I think you're right. We see the headlines that speak so much about unemployment rates skyrocketing, but there is a flip side to that. And if you go to LinkedIn and you type in the hashtag get hired, you will be taken immediately to hundreds of companies in various industries, from the service industry, retail to corporate, that list current job openings. And so we are hiring, and I say we because my organization is hiring as well. And the unique opportunity now is that we're hiring and we're looking for people virtually. So it's important to have a very strong online presence, which is why I reference LinkedIn, because it's the job seeker's best friend right now, really, to have a strong profile on LinkedIn. But to answer your question, surely, yes, people are hiring, but the competition is also very fierce. And so when you apply, you need to use best practices to make sure that your resume gets to the top of the stack.
Now, I'm glad you said that. And I like the fact that you pointed out, we're mostly on a virtual platform for a lot of businesses. So obviously they're going to be looking virtually to find you, and what you present on those business profiles like LinkedIn and some of the others is really going to be what separates you from others. So, but let's talk about this resume since you mentioned it. What can people do to make sure their resumes stand out amongst the competition?
Yeah, Tasha, that's a loaded question, because there are so many things that I have observed over the years that people add to their resume that they don't really need, that don't really apply to the role. There are some people who add everything to the resume. So I think some of the tips that I would offer is, one, understand the process. So if you're applying for a position in communications, let's say you're hiring a communications manager, you need to make sure that your resume demonstrates to the hiring manager, the HR department, that you are a well-qualified communications manager. So know your audience. If you're applying for communications manager and communications is not listed on your resume anywhere, chances are you're not going to get a call back. And so when you look at that job profile that you're going after, you're on any website and you see this is the job of my dreams, look at the keywords in that job description and make sure that you use those words in your resume. People say sometimes looking for a job is a full-time job, and you are absolutely correct. It is, because you cannot use the same resume and apply to different jobs and successfully get a call back. So you really do have to customize your resume for the job in which you are applying for. So that's one tip. Another tip, be conservative. I see a lot of people, trying to submit very fancy resumes with a lot of colors, every color of the rainbow, headshots. A lot of bigger organizations use a system to parse through the resumes. And so they may not recognize your resume if you have pictures and a lot of graphs. So be conservative, maybe 2 colors most. And I don't believe that putting headshots on your resume is a good thing.
Really? Okay. I didn't think that. That's not my style. Not that I'm looking, but but every time I see that, it comes off a little vain to me. I don't know what it is about that, but
yeah, I mean, this is my approach. I don't think that you want to give the organization or the hiring manager a reason not to hire you. And in the social climate that we're in, why do they need to know what you look like? They need to know what you can do. They need to know about your skills and your expertise, but they don't need to know some of those other things at that
your hair choice style, your makeup choice.
I mean, because people have unconscious bias, and we all have it, right? But don't give your recruiter or the hiring manager ammunition, reasons why not to hire you.
Right. And for model position, maybe that's a different type of, that's a different industry, but
yeah, unless you're looking for a model, then you would be submitting a portfolio. But in general, I recommend leaving the headshot off. Another tip I would suggest, make sure you have a LinkedIn profile. So the way that LinkedIn works is that if someone clicks on your profile, you get a notification. And as you're applying for jobs, it feels so good to see recruiter looking at your profile. That means that there's some interest there, and make sure that your profile is well formatted and it represents you nicely. So another tip, listen, we have great experience and we want to showcase that all the time. But I believe that you should remove dates that go beyond 2015.
Okay.
I'm sorry, 2005. So you want to show 15 years of experience, no more or no less. Also, unless you're a high school student, recruiters don't need to know that you graduated from high school or when you graduated from high school. And I've worked with some people on the side when I'm coaching, and they graduated from high school in the 70s, and that's great, but it's not relevant to hiring managers, and it ages you. So take the days off. Same thing with your undergrad or grad school. If you haven't graduated in the last 12 to 18 months, take the date off, because it will age you. And again, you don't want to give ammunition to recruiters or hiring managers, give reasons for them not to call you. And here's another one, Tasha. Your email address, okay? If your email address ends in AOL.com or Yahoo.com.
Well, I love AOL.
Studies show that you should upgrade or modernize to a Gmail account.
Wow.
And this is for professional reasons, right? Make sure your email account or your email address is professional. Ray at whatever, that might not be the best one. Use a professional email address, because again, you don't want to give recruiters ammunition, reasons why not to call you back. So, make sure that, what was that?
I was saying, these are great tips.
Yeah, and there are so many others, right? I mean, I could suggest many more. I think, one thing is, if you're unsure, reach out to a resume writer who can help you, because there definitely are tips and tricks. But one last thing on the resume piece, I think it's important to showcase your skills and your accomplishments. A lot of people put, they basically cut and paste the job description on their resume. And I think it's good to summarize what you're good at under your experience, but also show some key accomplishments. So I advise people, it's just as important underneath the title of your job or your organization. Give a summary of your job responsibilities, but also give a summary of your key accomplishments to show that you've added value, or you are adding value to the organization that you belong to. It's really important. And I can't. One more, Tasha.
What? Give it to us.
Please remove all personal identifiable information. I am not exaggerating when I say that I receive resumes with full dates of birth, social security numbers, and your home address. It's not relevant. We don't need
the home address. You don't need to do the home address anymore.
We don't need to know on the resume where you live. Because believe it or not, some people see the city and state that you live in and they say, oh no, I'm not going to hire anybody from that neighborhood. So again, don't give people a reason not to call you back. Now, when you fill out the application, you can obviously give your mailing address, your home address. But on the resume, because you don't know whose hands that's going to get in, don't put your full address. So those are just a few tips. I have many, many, many more.
Whoa, that's right there.
Yeah, just some tips because, you know, I believe that a lot of times people go into interviews or go into their job search with the appropriate experience. They just don't know how to format it on the resume to get that call back.
Yeah. These are great tips. I mean, you know, I'm even just thinking about updating mine because, like, I realize I do still have my address on there, and I did have an AOL account for so long.
Yeah,
you're right. All of these things we all need to kind of do. So that's great. So we talked about the resume. Great tips there. Now, what about when you do get the call back? They were impressed with what they saw at the resume. You know, a lot of interviews are taking place virtually, even in this similar format. You know, how do you stand out in a Zoom where they're only seeing a portion of you? They can't really read your body language. How can you stand out on a virtual interview?
Yeah, I mean, so interestingly, I was forced into this, right? As a hiring manager or as HR, we now do all of our interviews virtually and have had to hire people solely off of the interaction that we have via Zoom. And so I can think of a few tips in that regard. Dress just like you're going into the office. You know, a lot of us are very comfortable in terms of what we wear these days from the bottom down, probably, because we're on video calls. I would just suggest to get yourself in that right mindset, still put on a full suit, still prepare yourself as if you're walking into an office ready to meet your new boss, right? Another tip I would offer is to test your technology in advance. A lot of hiring managers have back-to-back meetings. And so they have a very small window of time in which they can talk to you. And if it takes you 15 minutes just to figure out if your microphone works, that's taken away from your time getting to know the team that you want to work with. So sign in early, test it, make sure that everything works. And obviously you can't prevent all things from happening, but you can do your part in making sure that you're comfortable being on screen. Get rid of distractions. So you have an interview at 3 p.m. Make sure the dog is put away. Make sure you have closed all of your other computer programs so that you don't hear those dings going off in the interview, because it will distract you and it will distract the interviewer. So get rid of all the distractions. If you have children, make sure you make plans or arrangements for them so that they're not interrupting. And I do believe that most organizations understand that we're all balancing home and work, but put your best foot forward and try and maybe nap time or have someone else in the house watch your children. Another really important one, because in person, the conversation flows a little bit more naturally sometimes. So don't interrupt, don't interject. Wait until the question is asked and then pause, think about your answer, and then go for it. I always say have a printed copy of your resume so that you can reference it if you need to when they're asking you questions. And this is one I really love to see. Make sure you have a pen in your hand and you let them know, I'm going to be taking notes if that's okay, because you want to show them that you're engaged and that you really, really want to learn more about them and the organization. So having the pen and the paper is important. And asking questions, Tasha.
Do you guys really want us to ask questions? Sometimes you feel like that's just
no. Like for me, if you don't ask questions, you're not serious about the job. And so you can ask questions about the job specifically. You can ask questions about the organization. You can, if you feel like you have a good rapport, you could even ask questions of the interviewer, like, well, why do you work here? What is it that you enjoy about being a part of XYZ organization? But failing to ask questions sometimes is interpreted as you're not engaged or you're not serious about this opportunity. And so I always coach people, ask questions. If you don't know what to ask, we can come up with a list of questions, because it's a good thing when you walk into an interview or you sign into an interview and the candidate has questions written down, because you know they've done their homework. And so people like to see that. Some of the questions that I think are valuable in asking, you know, once the interview is done, it's good to say, like, what are your next steps? Like, how soon are you looking to fill this position? And here's a question that might be a little aggressive for some, but it's perfect for me. And I ask in any interview I ever go in.
What is that?
I ask, based on my experience, my qualifications, and our conversation today, do you have any concerns about my candidacy?
Wow.
Or do you have any feedback about my candidacy? The reason why I've learned to do that over the years is because it's torture waiting to hear back. Like, you don't know if they liked you. You don't know if you're going to move to the next round. And it puts the interviewer in a position to give you feedback on the spot. And so I have found that to be extremely valuable. And some people say, yeah, I'm too shy to ask that question. And if you are, that's fine. But I have found that you get some very honest feedback when you take that chance and ask.
I like that. It shows a certain measure of assertiveness. And like you said, it prevents you from driving yourself crazy, wondering what they thought of you. And it might help them speed up their process of evaluating you if you're asking them, actually,
yeah,
I kind of like her or him, even based on just asking that question. Now, what about the salary question? Is it okay to discuss salary at the interview process?
So I don't advise that is a topic, especially if you're in the earlier stages of the interview. I had someone recently, before we even scheduled him, he was like, well, this is what I need. Can you do this? And we were like, whoa. I think there's a process, right? And most organizations have a budgeted amount or a range in which they're looking to offer you. I advise against that, because obviously that's going to come up at the appropriate time, but you don't want to give the impression that you're only there for the money.
Right.
And so I usually wait. Now, if they bring it up, you need to be able to respond.
Right.
And the circumstances, I could probably tell you how to navigate that. If they bring it up, there are some really nice ways in which you can answer without giving an exact number.
Okay.
Because you don't want to oversell or undersell yourself. So there are a lot of salary negotiation tips that I use. But yeah, the most important thing is be confident. Like, go in, sign in, be confident in who you are, be confident in your abilities. Because if you prepared, if you know that you have the experience that the organization is looking for, then you have nothing to worry about. And as Christians, when I coach Christians, I get extra excited because we go in, we sit across the table, or we're on Zoom with someone who is deemed the hiring manager. But Tasha, ultimately, our hiring manager, he already knows if that's your job.
Wow.
And so when you get to a point in the interview when you're nervous and you can't figure out what to say next, say a quick prayer and then say, in your head, God, it's on you. You get to decide. They think they're going to decide if this is my job, but you're going to actually decide. And so I have actually been in an interview and I felt a little bit uncomfortable. I thought that, I chuckled, I answered the question, because we know something sometimes that they don't know. And so just rely on your abilities and your faith, because you don't want to be at an organization that God doesn't want you to be at.
That's right.
That is not the way to go. As much as you need money or, whatever, you want to be where he wants you to be. So go in prepared, but go in trusting that if it's for you, it's yours.
That's right. This is some great stuff. As a matter of fact, it's so good. I want to come back after the break and talk to you about some more, particularly follow-up, because that's what leaves a lot of people feeling kind of weird. They don't know if they should reach out to people or not. So after this quick break, we're going to come back. I want you to talk a little bit about that and share some final tips for those who are seeking jobs right now. So stay tuned, everyone. We'll be right back after this short break. Okay, now we can go right back into it. I'm just creating a commercial, because this is good stuff, and I don't care about the time. I just want
22 minutes. I didn't realize that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, either. No, it's fine. Okay. So the follow-up. There was one more I had. Oh, and then you talk about the business. Okay. It's like there's a fifth one. All right, so we'll go back into it. All right, everyone, we're back. We're here with Apryl Evans, our HR expert. She's sharing with us some tips for job hunters out there. Jobs are still available. Of course, it's competitive, and so we're giving you some tips that you can use to kind of make your job searching experience rise to the top. So we've already talked about getting our online presence and our resumes up to par. We talked a little bit about the interview process and even on the virtual platform, how we should operate. So we've gone through the resume, the interview, and now you're waiting to hear back. What should follow-up look like, Apryl? Should we be calling them? Should we wait to hear from them? What's the proper protocol for follow-up?
Yeah, good question. I think it's so important, by the time you go into an interview, you could assume that you're in the top number, right? Whatever that number is. So it's important to make sure that you set yourself apart. Follow up and give a personal thank you. Send a personal thank you letter to everyone that you interact with, everyone that you interview. If you're face-to-face, send a note to the receptionist, thanking you for the water, really set yourself apart, because the competition is real. And so in the thank you letter, don't cut and paste from Google. Think of something thoughtful and personal. And it's always good to reference a conversation, part of the conversation that you had, or have an afterthought. Or, after our conversation, I did a little bit more research and I found XYZ. But make it personal and thoughtful. Set yourself apart. And then, depending on the industry, I advise always sending a LinkedIn request, because again, you want to be memorable, and you want them to know that you've done their research and looking them up. You've looked the company up. And so at the end of the day, regardless of if you get the offer or not, you have a connection with someone in an industry that you're interested in. And so, I believe that that's really powerful to connect with the person regardless of the outcome.
I agree. Now, there's some times when you're not really sure how it ends, and, maybe you do the follow-up that you suggested, but you don't hear anything. I don't know if there's a protocol you're in when you respond to say yes or no to someone, even if they don't get the position. Some send it, some don't. At what point should people just let it go? Like if you have to hear it back, just cut you off.
So internally, there should be a process at any organization where you disposition candidates at some point. So when you most organizations, once you make the offer, you should, as a courtesy, go back to all of the other applicants and officially thank them for their application, but let them know that you've gone in a different direction. That's what should happen. Does that happen all the time? No. And so I think, again, depending on the industry, following up is okay.
Okay.
Don't harass, right? Don't follow up every day. But following up just to, restate your interest, it's okay. It's okay. But just don't do it every day, because even if they were interested in you,
they wouldn't be anymore.
They'll probably be like, whoa, I don't know. I heard from them 3 times in one day, and that seems like a lot. And so there's a balance, right? And I think doing your research on the company and understanding like what their culture is and maybe how many jobs they're hiring for, so they might be busy. Like there are a lot of different components that you must consider. But overall, follow-up is not a bad thing.
Okay, great. Now, I mean, obviously through this process, you shared a lot of tips that could, you know, even when we talked about salary negotiation, that's a whole little process in and of itself, things that people need to think about that don't always come instinctually to the average person. So there are individuals like yourself who provide coaching for individuals who are in need of that type of help. So you do coaching as well. Tell us about some of the things that you coach people with, and then share how people can reach you if they're interested.
Yeah. So, I mean, I focus on the full gamut, I guess, from interviewing, resume prep, salary negotiation to get the job, salary negotiation to get the raise.
All right.
You know, how you position yourself for a promotion within your organization. So all things career, I have been doing it for quite a bit, and I'm passionate about helping other people because I had to learn along the way and I didn't have a resource that I could go to. You know, so I am trying to make space in my life to dedicate to helping others. And so I can be reached at Apryl@MadisonEvansGroup.com. And I love to have a conversation with you and see how we can help you get hired.
I love it. I love it. I mean, those tips alone, and I'll keep the email address there. Those tips alone have, I mean, even someone like me who's not necessarily looking, I still feel like, wow, you know, there's a lot I can learn about this thing. And particularly like for me, I've been in this position, at this organization for 10 years now. So it's been probably 10 years since I've even looked at my resume. And so I'm like, man, it's time for some of those dates to come off, you know? I'm getting old now. Like I can't, you know? So this has been really helpful, Apryl, and we really appreciate you and taking the time to share with us. And like I said, those who really need some more intense coaching, she is available. So please reach out to her. And we just want to thank you for everything that you've shared with us. We've learned a lot. Anything else?
My pleasure. It's what I love to do. And if there's anybody out there who needs help, I am available.
All right. And once again, there's that email address. Thanks, Apryl. We appreciate you.
All right. Thanks. Take care.
You too. And viewers, we'll be right back after this break. We're going to move into our youth chat with our youth correspondent. So you don't want to miss that. Stay tuned after the break.
There was a time in my life where I was extremely homesick. I decided that I needed a pet. When I first saw a turtle, my heart was full. He jumped up and kissed me and like jumped right into my arms. I immediately went up to the volunteers at the shelter and said, I want him. Like, he's got to come home with me. Now I'm anything but lonely. Every day with Turtle is a perfect day and keeps me company when I'm doing schoolwork. I like it when he jumps up on the table too. He is a veggie thief. He's an incredible companion and my best friend. Can't say that I've met anybody that doesn't love him too. When I adopted Turtle, I discovered all the things that make him unique. He's a little bit of a lot of things, but mostly he's all pure love.
All right, welcome back, everyone. My name is Jake, and this is my sister, Lauren, and we're here with Zion. And he's going to tell us a little bit about himself. So I'm from Community, firstly, and my sister's from Community SDA Church in Englewood. And we've been in contact with some people from AEC. And Zion here has expressed interest in taking part in the youth of AEC and the things that we're going to be doing for this conference. So Zion, tell us a little bit about yourself, ma'am.
Well, my first and last name is Zion Wilson, and I'm 9 years old, and I go to school at Overlook Spanish Immersion School.
Awesome. So you're from Metro SDA in Maryland, right?
Yeah, Hyattsville, Maryland.
Awesome. So what are some things at church that you like to do?
Well, some things at church I like to do. I like to do activities that my mom and her friends set up. It's for children's ministries. And so my mom runs children's ministries, so I pretty much participate in all their activities. And so and there was we recently started and finished a vacation Bible school. The vacation Bible school started on July 12th and it ended on last Friday, not this Friday. And let's see, on the beginning, June 12th, I'm sorry, not June 12th, July 12th, we watched a movie about Moses, and so the theme of the Vacation Bible School was about Moses leading the Israelites out of Egyptian slavery, and so they put up my mom and her friends put up a movie for us to watch to help us understand the life of Moses a little better.
Awesome. So you're in the Adventure Club. I'm sure there's a lot of fun activities, like you said. Your mom told us that you gave a sermon in church once. So how was that? Did you like ministering to a lot of people?
Yeah. I still get a lot of responses that I did very well, and I find that good, and that makes me feel good about it makes me feel good about myself.
Awesome.
But I wasn't nervous at first.
That's good. So now that you've been at home and the pandemic is around and we don't really get to go to church anymore, what are some things that you've done at home, like you started doing, or to keep you occupied at home?
Well, I've been trying new things. I've been playing. Well, I've been watching TV. Let's see. I've been talking to my grandpa and my mom. And yeah, I've been going to the park with my dad sometimes.
That's fun. So, what are some events with like young people from around the conference that you think you'd be interested in? Interested in participating in? So you said you like doing activities with other kids, or what are some things that you think you would like to do? Or what's some things that in the past that you would love to do again, that you've done in the past?
Well, there was this event at school, and like I don't know if it was in the middle of end of late November, near the end of November. And so we had this thing called a turkey trot. And so it's just like a race. It was a half a mile race, and we have to race from one point to another. And it was kindergarten, first, second, third, fourth, and then fifth. And so I'm in fourth grade, so I went near the end. I kind of enjoyed the wait though, seeing others race, and so I was watching with my friends. And so let's see. I don't remember. Okay, and then first every girl in fourth grade went, and then all the fourth grade boys went, and unfortunately I got second place in both, and so there were prizes for first, second, and third place. So the first place prize for every grade was a turkey, and then the second one was a chicken if you got second place, and so third place was a pumpkin pie.
That's cool. So I see you like doing physical activities. So have you been doing physical activities at home, like working out maybe, or like doing a little exercise here and there during this pandemic?
Well, I do go on walks with my grandfather to just like keep me going. I don't want to just stay inside entirely.
That's
So
good.
I do want to get some.
That's good. So do you play any instruments? So we're gonna have a lot of the youth from around the conference submit art, whether it's dancing, singing, playing an instrument, painting, anything, just the arts. And we're gonna have like a little showcase for everyone. So do you think you'd be interested in that? Do you play any instruments?
Well,
or do you paint or draw?
I've been doing this for a while. And so since 3rd grade, our music teacher gave us recorders. And so we played them. And so I have a song that's in my head that I could try and memorize and do. So I'll think about it.
That's good. Well, we see you show a lot of interest in participating, and that's really good.
That's great. Well, thank you for joining us today. Was really looking forward to
meet you.
Working with you in the future. You look really enthusiastic with your recorder and everything you do at church, So thank you for being with us today.
You're welcome.
All right, and if there's any more youth out there that would like to chat with us or interview with us, feel free to email our director at lhewitt@aecsda.com with your name and any of your details so that we can get in touch with you. And yeah, so thank you so much for joining us. We'll be back in a minute.
Staring contest. You still got it. I know.
Come alive with the forest. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a forest near you.
All right, everyone, that wraps up tonight's episode. Once again, we're so grateful that you chose to tune in. We're grateful to all of our guests who came to share with us this evening as well. Remember, if you have something that's happening at your church that you think your AEC family should know about, please reach out to me, lhewitt@aecsda.com. We want to feature you as well. And young people out there, we want to feature more of our young people from our churches all over the conference. So reach out, send your information as well. I'm grateful for all of the names I'm getting to be part of our panel discussion that we want to launch in August, featuring our young people talking about issues that concern them. So continue to send in those names. We're assembling everything together so we can give you more information about how you can view this panel discussion amongst our youth within AEC. Well, the weekend is approaching. And we have lots of things coming up, not just this weekend, but beyond. So after this episode, please check out some of the awesome things that are happening throughout our conference and other places. As always, thanks for tuning in. And the more you watch, the more you know. All right, take care.